can you share at least one of those ideas that you had 10 years ago that turned out to be like very prescient? I'd love to hear one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. So like I'll put it this way. So some of the tests that I ran. So let's think about like one of the tests that I ran 10 years ago was we were doing this kind of crazy experiment where we wanted to kind of give users a discount, and I wanted to study irrational behavior. I've been very fascinated by are people rational actors or are they not? And I
No,
didn't,
they're not,
at
right?
this point, I had no data. Say it again.
They're not, right?
Sorry.
My assumption is
I'm sorry.
no.
I'm sorry.
My assumption is
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
they are
People aren't
not.
rational at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is no. And what happened was I was working for a client where they had their bestseller, and we noticed that their bestseller, even though this was selling the most number of units overall, it actually had a pretty low conversion rate compared to the site average, which was quite surprising to the CEO. So his response was, let's give people a $10 discount. And let's give them a coupon code on this page. And I said, well, instead of using that $10 coupon code, can I try something that I've been dying to try? And he said, okay, sure. And I ran an experiment where we ran an A/B test. For the control group, the price was $98. For the test group, the price was $98, as one would expect. When you clicked on the add to cart button, when you went to the cart page, for the control group, it was $98 on the cart page, which is exactly what you'd expect. However, for the test group, we changed the price on the cart page to $96. So we gave a $2 discount, but we didn't give any explanation for whether we gave a discount. We didn't say why we gave a discount. We just changed the price to $96. And I wanted to see what would happen to the cart completion rates for the test group. Now, rationally speaking, if I had a retail store and I was selling a product for $98 and I walked up to a customer and I said, I'll give you a $2 discount, it really should have a minimal or maybe no effect at all on purchase intent because it's too small a number. Because if someone is not buying it because it's $98, they also probably shouldn't buy it if it's $96.
Right.
What's really surprising about this test, and this is something we ran 10 years ago, was that we noticed a 20% improvement in cart completion rates for people that were shown that discounted price, the $96.
Without even telling them it was a discount.
We didn't explain, we didn't tell them it's a discount, right? And so can you guess what really happened? Can you understand? Can you guess the buyer psychology of what happened with that? Why did 20% more people buy?
Did they feel like maybe there was some kind of bug in the site and they had to get it done quickly?
Exactly right. So what's crazy about this is that their incentive, their mental calculus shifted from, do I want to spend $98 or do I want to spend $96 on this product, to I've unexpectedly saved $2 right now. What am I going to do about it? And it overrode their overall calculus, right? And so that's why there was a 20% increase. And this was a very innovative concept that we tested. Now, we were never going to permanently implement this. The idea was to really understand price sensitivity. But this is something that I tested like 10 years ago, and I have not retested some of those ideas today. So I think my point is that I've become a lot more conservative. When I didn't know back then what would happen. And so I think this is an example of something, a basic idea or a basic insight that I had about buyer psychology 10 years ago that I was able to test because I had nothing to lose. And now we are much more cautious about what we are testing. And I think as a result of that, I would argue that our breakthrough insights are fewer than what we used to have 10 years ago.
Right, because we're sort of more conservative about the tests that we're doing. Right, so maybe it's time to reopen that box and bring out those. But I think this is a really good sort of introduction to the kind of discussion which we're going to have, which I'm very excited about, because we're essentially saying there's so many things that have changed about e-commerce, but there's these really basic things, and buyer psychology is basically the most fundamental process of your e-commerce site. You're essentially building a site to convince someone to shop with you, right? So why don't you just sort of give us a quick recap of your experiences with buyer psychology and what are sort of those principles that you've applied? Because I know that in a little bit, we're going to be doing a real life example, but I think it would be helpful to tell the viewers, sort of like give them a grounding before we get to that.
Yeah. I mean, so I remember, many years ago reading somewhere online, some web marketer was talking about how e-commerce is so different than traditional forms of marketing. And they were trying to draw this distinction that, we're in a new frontier. We need a whole new tool set. We need to bring on young people that are, trained for this specific medium. I want to share with you guys something very quick. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to bring it right here. This is the single most valuable thing that I own. So if you can see, there's a reflection, but this is a reprint.
Sears Roebuck Consumer's Guide.
Copy, but it's a reprint of an 1897 Sears catalog. I just show you guys the insides of it. You can see this is how catalogs used to be. There's drawings instead of having photographs. I want to just to give some context. This company Sears existed in Chicago, and we're talking about, this is 1897, so this is like over 120 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
And what was happening was that they were sending out these catalogs to small towns in small places, far off places in America. And people would receive these catalogs. They would read this font size 4, which is such a big no-no these days. No images, just drawings. And they would tell stories about clothes. They were selling clothes. They were selling, hairbrushes. They were selling all kinds of things. And they would say, the story was, send us advance payment. You have never met us. Send us advance payment to a city of Chicago, which you have never visited. And after a couple of weeks, we will actually send you the product, and then you will receive it. So that, that was the sales pitch. I don't think people recognize how good you have to be as a copywriter in that environment, right?
Sure.
And so it is shocking to me when I read the copy and the stories these guys tell. I mean, it makes me tear up. So when I look at modern copywriting, I feel that, we are fooling ourselves into believing that we have these special skills, these special insights. I think these copywriters from 120 years ago would pretty much destroy me every single day if they competed against me. So I take a lot of inspiration from these kinds of old manuscripts of copywriting. So I don't think principles of copywriting have changed. I mean, I would say one controversial thing right now. I mean, if you were to poll marketers, right, all marketers in the world, I would say 95% of them would say that less people don't read, so let's trim down copy. You'll see on product pages on websites, copy has been systematically being trimmed down. Maybe sometimes it's replaced by a video, so maybe it's a displacement, but oftentimes it's not even done. That's not even what happens. I mean, just the copy content goes down. We probably add more images and we show more reviews, for example. I would argue that copy is just as effective and just as important as it's always been. I think what is happening is that user attention and tolerance for garbage copy or fluffy copy or one-sided copy is very low. So when they see that, and people are easily distracted, so they tend to react much faster to it. Also, if you were to poll users and ask them, like, hey, do you like more copy? Do you like less copy? They would
less copy.
They would say less copy. But I think that basing your copy strategy based on what the audience wants is as stupid as basing your pricing strategy based on the discounts people want. Of course, if you ask them for a discount, they would say, yes, a 95% discount is great. You don't change your pricing because of that, right? So I think the same is true for copywriting. Your job as a copywriter is to persuade and convert a first-time buyer. If you can do that with 20,000 words, hey, good for you. If you can do that in 100 words, good for you. Your job is to persuade and convert. If you can't do that, then your copy isn't working.